All right, this is a 2024 0S. This is the, I guess, S Lite bike that you can pick up in the Zero lineup. This one comes with a 75-10 motor. Does have some upgradable range. I like to start in sport mode on these things. All right, so it is all electric, which of course leaves a lot of different questions that are pretty common. One is range, and what is this bike like to ride? So as far as riding characteristics is where I'll start. These bikes are very quick, you know, instant torque is sort of what makes them special. There's also no transmission, so it feels very different at first. You're gonna be reaching for some ghost clutches if you're coming from internal combustion. And no shifting either, so that does make it very different. I will say it does make it technically easier. There's less stuff to do, especially at lights. I mean, hand off, roll on, and I'm good. Try doing that with a gas bike. It's pretty tough unless you have a recluse clutch or something. But as far as performance on the highway goes, the 75-10 motor does come with significantly less horsepower than the SR or the SRF and SRS and DSRX and things like that. Basically the 75-10 motor, but it's still plenty for the highway. In my experience, I have never felt like these bikes are just too slow for the highway anymore. I will say I could get a hint of that in the older generation S's especially, but I mean, getting right up to speed is more than easy. I mean, don't get me wrong, you'll have a tough time keeping up with people like that right there, but that's okay. The idea of the S is more of a commuting bike, more of a starting bike. It's sort of their beginner friendly entry level, but also around the town kind of bike. So there's no wind protection. It is naked. This is slightly more aggressive than the SRS and very much more aggressive than the DSRX and the FXE, the Supermoto. Which means if you're looking for ultimate comfort from electric, this is not the bike for you. As far as maneuverability goes, these bikes are not super light, but when it comes to how the weight is balanced, is very important to understand what these bikes are like. The weight is very low, very low, so you can feel the bike rotating around that weight, and it does make it feel probably 30 to 40 pounds lighter than it actually is. And on top of that, good suspension leaves us with a very good outcome of nice turnability. So that was in sport mode, lots of fun. As far as range goes, you'll probably get anywhere from, let's say, as low as 50, worst case scenario, probably down to 45, 40 if you're just absolutely going up like top speed on the highway all times. That is absolute worst case scenario. If you're doing that kind of speed on the highway, get the next motor up, because this motor is going to overheat. So as far as realistic range, where this bike should be getting for the kind of rider that should be owning it, or at least how you should be using this one, is, you know, trotting anywhere from 65, 75 miles an hour. You know, that'll get you anywhere from, I'd say, 60 to 80 tops miles of range of just highway, and maybe take that number all the way up to 110, 120 with city and highway mix, heavy city especially. I would say 120 is all city. Regenerative braking, things like that involved. That's a pretty conservative number. Which, by the way, you know, this is coming from the new Zero of San Diego. If you give them a call, talk to their sales guys, you know, they're very, very transparent about the range and everything, and that's what's most important about not only these reviews, but also who sells them and who you buy them from. If you're buying them from the right person, they're not going to let you get something like this if you're planning on cruising at 90, right? Or they're not going to let you get the DSRX if you have zero miles of experience. they might not even let you get a 0 if you have an expectation to go 200 miles round trip and you don't want to touch a charger on the way. But as we all know all too well, not every dealer is like that, but I can say ONYX MOTO is. They also ship nationwide, so if you can't think of a dealer like that, well, if you're watching this YouTube video, I guess you have one now. But go call, ask for themselves, ask for yourself. See what they say. If you claim to be a beginner looking at a 1000, see what they say. But as far as the highway goes, overall these bikes are a lot of fun. Eco mode pretty much reduces your throttle response, limits your speed so that you're not doing things that create a lower range for you, which I appreciate. As a sport biker myself, I sometimes have a problem staying off the throttle. So again, maneuverability, you know, this bike is a lot of fun. Canyon mode is basically supposed to give you a more realistic feeling, regenerative braking. I got a Tesla right behind me, so we're leading the electric train. So overall, 0. I would say it's a company that I was kind of nervous about when it first came into the shop. Mostly because I wasn't sure about them. I hadn't really ridden one on the road yet, so all I could really think about is my prejudice as an internal combustion rider, which was, of course, well, range, well, oh, it's not a man's bike, all this, that, and the third. I would say if you haven't ridden one of these bikes, you're probably a lot like me. You know, you might think of you might think, well, it's just not the sound that I'm needing, you know, I'm not going to be heard. Truthfully, these LEDs do flash pretty bright, and I've ridden about 800-900 miles on these bikes so far, and I've had no issues. I would say I haven't had a worse experience of being cut off by cars. I'm constantly flashing my high beams, I'm constantly forcing people to see me, and doing that on a sport bike is 0. I have noticed no difference. I get cut off the exact same amount of times, which is more than 0 still. But anyway, thank you for joining us on the 0 test ride. Overall, if you haven't taken one of these out for a spin, please take it out for a ride. These bikes are a lot of fun for what they're meant to do. Thank you.